Grapes are so fucking good.
I was like, it's very like, the cabinets are, and everything in there. I would say they're fine.
Hey, baby. Are you up here? Are you hiding, trying to scare me? Let's go up on the roof. How many of you guys have a door in your bathroom on the 3rd floor onto the roof? I do this for work all the time. I'm like a pro with a ladder. No big deal. No big deal. As the ladder falls and I come plummeting through the 2nd floor ceiling. These are our 2 houses. There's the deck. There's the L. And this is Kensington. You know, I don't want to ever get footage of any of the gnarly stuff that goes on. So, you know, I try and just get the peripheries and make it look like an empty ghost town. That's where I work at. I work right there in that little cluster. And there's that bridge that I was talking about in last week, or this past week in one of the videos. So let's talk, guys. All right. Let me get in the entire frame and look at the camera. I want to look at myself. I want to just... Anyways, hi. So I took the day off from work today, and I'm going to hang out with my wife, and we're going to do the breakfast service here. Today I am back down to good old 198, you know? It's just been like an interesting experience. Like my first week of going like a full 72 refeed, 72 refeed, I'd like plummeted down to 193. 198 to 193 in 1 week. And during that week, I was eating lots of dates, lots of dried figs. And well, let me just run you through what eating looked like. So I would get up at 3. At 3, I would have like a 20-ounce glass of orange juice. I would have several servings, usually anywhere from 3 to even like 5 or 6 servings of dried figs or dates. Getting my nicotine. I import European pouches. They're super cheap, stronger, taste better. And so yeah, so I would have right off the rip between fruit, dried fruit, which is like supposed to be a no-no, juice, sometimes honey, sometimes not, but always like a solid 800 calories of juice with dried fruit, and then sometime throughout the day, I would get in probably like another 500 to 700 calories, or even more, but 5 to 7 is a good number, of, maybe 2 apples, a pound of grapes, always about a pound of fruit, and then some sugary drinks with it. Country Time lemonade, Tang, straight sugar water, whatever I was really feeling. And then I would come home and I would have like another big fruit bowl with fresh fruit and dried fruit, and then I would end the night with more dried dates or figs. I was eating over 3,000 calories, and that week I shot down, even with a 1-day refeed on Wednesday, to 193. I have not been able to get lower than 198 since then. So let's talk about it. What am I experiencing? Why am I experiencing it? What are the differences? I've done all the same stuff. I've tried repeating it. I've tried like adding more dried fruit. I've tried removing dried fruit. Like I went this week with removing dried fruit. And I don't know, I don't know where to go from here. I'm going to just like give it another 2 weeks. I want to see, because weight loss isn't linear. And not only is it not linear, hold on a second, the elevated train's about to pass by. Not only is weight loss not linear, but I do believe that your weight will always have a certain level of play to it. And what do I mean by that? So I was just listening to Mark Bell yesterday, and he was talking about how he's been yo-yoing between 213 and 207 while becoming leaner. Now, you'll hear people that are very fit often talk about that same experience, and it doesn't necessarily equate to people like me and you. And I'm not just going to hedge all this on enhancement, but it also has to do with like activity level and how lean that person is already to begin with. Like Mark Bell is a single-digit body fat percentage of leanness. That, although I am so handsome, that's not my experience. I'm like easily 20% body fat. Am I happy with my body? Yes. Would I like to be leaner? Yes. So I'm going to give it about 2 weeks to sort of continue to see what the trend is, because I haven't been on this diet that long, and I just went through some giant shifts in my hormones, getting off of taking some high-tech pharmaceutical pro hormones that I was taking. So I need to give myself a little bit of time. Now, if it's 2 weeks from now and I'm still cruising at 198, that's different. So when I reach that road, I will decide what I'm going to do. But until I reach that, I'm just going to remain consistent. And some other things that are important to talk about is the fact that this style of eating, yes, it's not conducive to building muscle, but it for sure can be an effective part of leveraging fat gain throughout the week. So it could be very interesting doing something like having 5 days of a very strict clean eating high protein meal, and then 2 days of sugar fasting to sort of leverage inflammation, water weight, and body fat, because it does seem really remarkable for maintaining, like I often say, control over your scale. So that's a potential future that can come out of this. Do I want to experience what it's like to go 7 or 10 days straight without a refeed meal? Perhaps. Maybe after this following week coming up, that's exactly what I do. And I rock out the last 2 weeks of June, just like 14 days straight, and see what that experience is like. I'm not really on the fence about what to do, in the sense that like I'm not stuck in some kind of like, oh, it's not working, maybe if I try this. I'm very happy. I feel great. I'm training my ass off in the gym. The question is though, like if you switch over to having more protein in your diet and you're just using carbs as like performance fuel, then you end up back in the calorie counting game. Because I know for sure you can't have a day of like yesterday, you know, I go from 199 to 198. How much of that is fat loss? What am I, a fucking scientist? You know what I mean? Who knows, man? It could literally all be from body waste and urine, and 0.1 of that was body fat. Who knows? It's like, it's largely irrelevant to even try and figure that out. But if you start talking about having protein more often in your diet and using carbs as an energy source, I know for sure when I had a day like yesterday where I had easily 3,000 calories coming from agave, fruit, juice, and honey, that I couldn't, for example, have had even 16 ounces of lean chicken breast with nothing else added except a light sprinkle of salt without that scale being different today. How different? I don't know. And more importantly, you know, you can have these metabolic things that go on that only happen for a day. And what do I mean by that? So last Friday, I was, you know, not in a serious case of the fuckets, but like I was saying, I definitely sympathize with women and their hormonal shifts that they go through in the month, because I was feeling it, man. I'm like, you know, I felt bloated, you know, I'm like, I apologize if this train squeal is super loud. I don't know how close it is. You know, I felt like super bloated and like, you know, I was like on the verge of being like, oh, my tits are sore, you know. And so Friday, I went and had a nice lunch. I walked up to the Reading terminal in Philly over in Center City. It's very close to my main office. And I had a sandwich and I sat there and I had some really awesome fresh squeeze, like orange, ginger, pineapple drink that had apple cider in it. I mean, it was amazing. It's called like Victory Thirst Quencher that these Amish people put together. And I had a sandwich and it was amazing. And I had 2 croissants later in the day. Now, all things considered, right, even though I'm loaded on glycogen because I'm going into that meal already carved the fuck up from this diet, the reality is that like I was having starch, I was having fatty meat and cheese, and then I mixed it with the juice, which is additional carbs, and I all of a sudden was getting like a pretty good sodium dump from having this kind of meal. The mixed macros, and you know, I should have like experienced like some kind of play on the scale up, and I get on the scale Saturday morning and it was not up. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was still cruising at like 200, and then I wake up Sunday morning and I've had less calories and I'm up like 205. You know what I mean? So there's this interplay that happens with the scale, and there are certain days where you will get a free pass on some of your calories, in the sense that they're not going to make the scale they're not going to make the scale jump up. I live in Fallujah, so you gotta bear with me. You know, your calories aren't going to always make the scale bump up, and if the scale does bump up, it's not indicative of body fat. But over time, I need to do it the other direction because the camera's gonna flip. Over time, the trend needs to be like this. So right now my trend has been like, for the last, since May till now, my trend was like, then I hit the sugar diet, then I sugar fasted, then I got off of hormones, and then I'm right here. I'm right here, back at 198. Back at 198. And I need it 2 weeks from now to at least be right there. Because if not, 2 weeks is a fair bit of time. Something is not happening. Now, what am I going to do? And that's what I'm saying. I might experience what it's like to just go into a prolonged sugar fast. But I don't want to go into July, into August, still like playing the game of like, what am I going to restrict? What am I going to remove? Because I'm done with all that, you know? I'm done with being really hard on myself and hurting myself. I am not glorifying hurting anyone, especially not yourself. Warning, I'm gonna have to put the fucking, I can't even just like have a normal conversation. I am not glorifying self-harm. This is not what that channel is about. Now let's eat 20,000 calories. Ridiculous, dude. I'm off for today, hanging out. I'm gonna serve some food to some good people. Get my hair cut, go to Costco. I am playing hooky. I called out of work. I called out of work and I do not care. Let it all crash and burn, dude. I'm hanging out with my wife, getting my hair cut. I'm gonna help out a friend. Got some plumbing issue over in his bathtub. I'm gonna take care of it. Hit Costco. This weekend, I'm having some lean meals. I'm gonna have a chicken salad meal. I'll get some good footage of that. For those of you that don't know, you can literally take chicken breast. You can take already pre-cooked chicken breast. You can get a rotisserie chicken, pick it apart, whatever. And you put it with some Greek yogurt or blended cottage cheese. You put some spices like the Hidden Valley Ranch packets. A couple of those Kinder pre-blend spice mixes. They all got salt on them. You don't need to even add salt. You mix it up and then you put a squirt of one other sauce that you really like. Now that could be mustard. If you like more of that traditional Americana deli vibe, right? Like you're gonna go with some kind of mustard. If you like it a little bit sweeter, believe it or not, shot of ketchup or something like that right into the Greek yogurt. Just the smallest amount. We're talking about like a teaspoon for, you know, a half cup to a cup of Greek yogurt with your 16 ounces of chicken breast. A little bit of the pickle juice or diced pickled hot jalapenos, the hot vinegar, just to thin out that Greek yogurt a little bit. All very tasty. I'm gonna have that on some low calorie wraps. I'm gonna have that on some low calorie wraps, and I will, for dinner, I wanna have some rice, man. I've been like really craving starch, which is interesting because I know Josh Rayner's talked about that there's gonna be times where he's craving starches, and I am experiencing that. And I'm gonna guess, like looking at what Sugar Punch is doing, that he has these cravings too, that like can't be satisfied with meat, and that like baked potatoes are really hitting the spot. I know he had a lot of success with carbing up on some pasta. Interesting, all very interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna do 2 days of lean eating, keep the calories low, high volume, lots of veggies. And I'm gonna play a little bit this weekend. I'm gonna be very low with the calorie count just because, like I said, I need to give myself a fighting chance to let the sugar fasting do its part. I need to look a week from now and sort of reevaluate where we're at. And if it's not trending in a positive way, I will then try a longer sugar fast. And if that doesn't yield results, and I'm diligent in the sense that I restrict any dried fruit and sort of build my meals around 3 you know, basically like 3.5 pounds to 5 pounds max of fruit for someone that's getting 15 to 20,000 steps, and you're not sugar dumping on it beyond like what your cravings are telling you, and you're not seeing results from that over the period of like 14 days, then there's no reason to push further into longer fasts, because it's not yielding success, right? And it's like, if I wanted to stay stalled, beating my head, doing the same thing over and over without results, I would have kept doing the other diets. But I feel better on this diet, so I'm going to give it my best foot forward to see how it trends. And then if it doesn't trend in a positive way, I'm going to go in a different direction and see how I can incorporate it with more of like a classic, you know, bodybuilder style split where you have your protein, veg, and some starch. I'm going to have to figure out what the calories are going to look like, because my calorie count is through the roof now, and I'm able to hold weight in a way I couldn't before. But I guarantee it won't stay the same when you start bringing back in the other foods. So what's that going to look like? I'm not a scientist, but I am an explorer. I am a bold, confident explorer. So I will figure it out, and we're going to figure it out together, and we're going to get through this one day at a time. So everyone have a great day, and next time you see me, I will have my hair cut, and I will be so handsome. Have a good one, guys.